What's up, guys? So, if you guys are new to the channel, what we do right now is I'm getting everything shared out with out into the Facebook world. So, rather than have you guys look at just a winding clock counting down from 5 minutes, I threw up an extra camera, kind of give you guys a behind the scenes look, and we'll be starting here in about 4.5 minutes. Of course, if you guys are following the channel, you know our guest today is going to be Tom Reber. Hope you guys buckle up because Tom brings an immense amount of value in a short amount of time. So it's like drinking out of a fire hose. But anyway, so give me about 4 minutes. I'm going to start sharing things out. Of course, as the ticker says, let me know you're here by saying hi in the comments below. I always like saying hi to you guys, seeing who's viewing from where. So be sure to let me know where you're from as well. I get an image, a mental image rather, of kind of where everybody's from. So, and I'll kind of talk you guys through what I'm up to right now. So, what I'm doing is I'm going into my YouTube studio and I'm going to get the link. And what I like doing is sharing that link out on Facebook, the different Facebook groups I'm in, kind of let everybody know and give them a gentle reminder that we're live. Because if anybody's like me, sometimes I'll get my head down and I'll forget what time it is. I'll forget where I'm at until I see a prompt. So, yeah, that's kind of what we're going to do is give people a gentle prompt saying, hey, don't forget, we got Tom right now. And we're going to talk about business finance to a certain degree, but generally, gross profit versus net profit, margins versus markup, that sort of thing. So if you guys have finance questions, like general business finance questions, drop them in the comments below too. Kind of queue those questions up, and we'll get through some Q&A as soon as we get started. Down to 3 minutes. Got to get going. A lot of times this takes a little bit longer than I think it's going to. Get everything shared out. So what I'm doing right now is navigating over to the Joe Everest, the fence expert Facebook page, the public page, and then I like posting it there and then sharing it out from there. So it all has one URL for everyone to click through. Also, let me know what you guys think about this kind of behind the scenes thing. Would you rather have this where I kind of give you guys a commentary of what's going on before the show, or would you rather just see a countdown clock? I'm gonna say I'm live with Tom Reber. One, come on. I'm gonna put the link in and generate a preview. Share that. Minute 54. Where's the time go, guys? Say, come on over and bring your business question. Come on over and bring your business finance questions. Kind of becomes like a little bit of a race here. Catch myself watching the clock and seeing how much time I got. Guys, I don't think we're going to make it. I think I'm going to go over time today, which I apologize for. I know your guys' time is very important. Oh no, time is out. We're still sharing it out. All right. Hang with me here, guys. I got a few more pages to share this to, and then we're going to get rocking and rolling. Five minutes goes faster when you're watching the clock. I'll tell you that right now. All right, sharing out is done. Let me start queuing this up. Bring you guys into the desk. There we go. All right, now we need to bring on Tom. What is up, Tom? How are you, sir?
What's going on, my friend? How are you?
Man, I'm doing super well. How about yourself?
I'm living the dream, man.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's been too long since we talked.
I know it's been at least a good month and a half or so since we had like a real conversation. So
I know it. I know it. We went from talking like weekly to
yeah.
Life happens.
Well, what happens is you're building your empire, man. Like you ain't got time anymore, man. You're
no.
Don't. You're podcasts. You're all over social. You're building the living bejesus out of your out of Ozark Fence.
It's a full-time job. I'll say that.
Yes, it is.
Here's the thing though. You talk about me being busy, me building my empire. Check out Tom building his empire, man. Look at you go.
Yeah, it's been a decade in the making, man. So
right. Well, isn't it crazy when you hear comments like, man, look, it must be easy, or look at Tom blew up overnight, or those types of comments. I'll hear those occasionally, like, oh, good for you. Look at you just showed up and things were rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
You didn't see all the groundwork.
Yeah. I had somebody once say to me, oh, it must be nice or something like that. And I said, yeah, it is nice, but it's like the bamboo tree, man. It's building the root system under the ground for years before it sprouts up and grows 80 feet in 6 weeks or whatever it is. So, I've created, between my main YouTube channel and our Sales Academy channel and other stuff, easily 400 and something videos. I've 400 and something, 500 podcasts. I've done thousands and thousands of social media posts. And I just keep, I've told you before, I keep showing up like a bad rash, man. I figure if I keep showing up, I got to get some sort of attention. So, it's been fun, man.
It's obviously working. It's obviously working well.
A lot to learn too. I get coaching too. And so it's, like we all do, everybody should have a coach, and
agreed.
We want to get better. And, I just, like I told you before, got off a coaching call with one of the top YouTube guys. And, he gave me one little golden nugget that's going to explode the brand even more,
Absolutely.
It's fully worth the money invested. So it's all good.
Well, Tom, for like the two people out there that haven't met you yet, that don't know you or have seen your content, who's Tom Reber? What are you up to?
Well, listen, I'm the founder of a company called The Contractor Fight, where our whole mission is to bring respect and dignity back to the trades. Spent several years as a painting contractor, sold my half of the business back in 2011, 2012. And since then, I've been working with home improvement contractors, helping them get out of their own way, make more money, quit stealing from their families. And we do that through, I'm proud to say, as far as guys who do what I do in this space, nobody on the planet is putting out more content and more free content than my team and I. And then for those who want to move faster, we certainly have paid programs and coaching groups and one-on-one stuff. And so there's that and The Contractor Fight. And then under that umbrella, a sister company that I'm a co-founder of is the Contractor Sales Academy. Right. Where we basically help you sell more and all that good stuff. I spend the majority of my time, 85-90% of my time, is creating content for those. And then last November, I was fortunate enough to get tapped on the shoulder, actually several months or a year ago now. I got tapped on the shoulder to see if I was interested in hosting a TV show on HGTV. New show that's coming out this fall, and we just finished filming season 1. I started in November, just finished last week, 4 episodes. But so I'm excited about that, man. But it's all, that's why I tell people you got to do content, man, because you never know how content's gonna one day, tap you on the shoulder down the road and go, and hey, you've been building content and expertise and positioning yourself in this space. And that opens up a lot of doors and opportunities for people. So
absolutely,
super blessed, man.
Yeah, Tom, the HGTV, when I saw you make that announcement on the Facebook, like it was one of those like that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can see Tom being that guy. Now, can you tell us a little bit about it? Like I understand, there's you can't go into detail, but what is it?
Yeah, I can't go into detail until the network starts promoting commercials for it, right? And that's just their rules. And so the thing I want to be really clear on that a lot of people in my community have had some confusion on is it is not the contractor fight show on HGTV.
Right.
Like
Okay.
they have people that scout, videos and YouTube and all these things. And at one point, some dude was like, I think this guy could be a good host. And we started a conversation, and then they ended up designing a show kind of around my specialty, and that's really, coaching.
Yeah.
And so, we get to work with some really cool homeowners and some projects that have had their project been stalled. It's been stalled for various reasons, and I come in with my team, and we kind of do our thing and wake them up a little bit and help them see it through to the finish line. That's the goal. So
kind of give it a jump start.
Yeah, and really create a good plan and be disciplined and get rid of your head trash and all that other stuff. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, do they have the bleep button on their finger on the trigger with you, right? Because my language is definitely pretty strong. And
sure,
again, this is I'm hired by them to do a job, so I play by their rules, so it's funny because a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be the contractor fight show. And I'm like, no, it's not the contractor fight show. That's on YouTube here.
Sure.
But HGT, they've been great to work with, the production companies and, the producers, the showrunners, the crews. I mean, it's really been a good time hanging out with people that are true experts at what they do, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's been fun to watch from the outside looking in. I'll tell you, just from your the social posts that you put out there, it's I can't wait to watch it. It certainly looks like it's going to be a really good time.
Thanks, buddy.
So let's say hi to everybody for a little bit. Hey guys, before we get started, we've got a hard out today. So usually we go to 5:30 Central. We got a hard out at 5:00. All right. So, and you guys, if you've watched me more than once, you know how I get. We'll go down rabbit holes and I won't know where I am for like half an hour.
You? No way.
It's happened maybe a couple times.
Yeah.
Per episode, per day. Yeah.
Dude, you and I are very, very similar there. We get lost in what we're doing. And next thing you know, it's like, holy cow.
Well, I think it's one of those things. Like, I think once I focus in on something, I just don't let it go. I just see it to the end. And that's how, I'll end up. So I've got we just had a little one. I say just had a little one. We've got she's 3 months old now. But when I was doing the overnight shift with her, it'd be 3 a.m. and I'd end up down some YouTube rabbit hole watching ocean going ships, traveling around Australia. It's like, how did I end up here? But you just get focused on something though.
You do.
But anyway, guys, we got a hard out 5:00 Central. So if it starts creeping up on 5:00 and I'm going down one of these rabbit holes, let me know. Type it in the comments below and kind of bring my attention around to it. Another thing too, guys, is so what we're going to do. So we're going to try to take this live interview and make it into a couple different pieces of content because I understand these get to be a bit much to watch on replay. I mean, they'll go for a couple hours. So what I want to do is make these almost bite-sized nuggets, right? Little chunks to digest. Yeah. So what I want to do is have times where we're taking questions and we're talking to you guys, the crowd there. And then we're going to take time where we're just going to talk about the content. And then we're going to go back to the comments, content, and kind of go back and forth. So if it seems like we're on a roll and we're not paying attention to the comments, give it a minute. We're going to come right back around. But let's do this. Before we dive into the first piece of content, let's say hi to some folks. I like this part a lot. So Roger's been here for a while. Roger, this comment came in at 2:38. So Roger's been waiting around for a while for this thing to get started. Roger's here every week. And Roger, I appreciate you for sure. House Right Fence, there's a new name. Welcome, guys. Dallas-Fort Worth area. I tell you what, it seems like, is everyone from Dallas-Fort Worth, Tom? It seems like everybody I know is from Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Texas is definitely representing, man. It's on my channel and my comments and social and this and that. You Texans, man, you got it dialed in somewhere, man.
That's right. YouTube is just like your jam.
Yep. Yep.
Then we've got Ideal Fence. Welcome back. They're from North Central Indiana. Indiana's pretty well represented too. We've got Stony Creek Fence in Indianapolis. We got Mr. Fence in Evansville, Indiana. So a few is it Indianans? Several folks from Indiana here. What is up, Jeff Keppert? Jeff's here all the time. Welcome back, Jeff. Barricade Fence and Deck checking in from Central Pennsylvania. So we're leaning East Coast right now. And then, speaking of the guy, Contractor Fight TV says, "What's up, people? How are we doing today?"
I did that when I was waiting for you, man. I was like, "Hey, what's up?" Here we go.
Kenny Dugan, the Stain Man, was up. He's taking a 5-minute break. Had to jump on for a few. Excited for Tom's new show. I couldn't agree more. Like, so, Tom, when does it come out? Is there like a firm date when the first one rolls out?
I don't have a firm date. I've just heard fall.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, fall. So we'll be watching for fall.
That's right.
And I have a feeling anyone that follows you on social media will know when it's announced. Roger's back with us. Joe, you're in a new studio. Now you know, in case you get sidetracked. Yeah, I know. I am in the new studio. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. So, guys, if you haven't watched last week's video, is actually like a behind-the-scenes look at this studio. Actually, it started at my old studio. We tore it down. We came into the new studio. We set everything up. And then I answered, or I kind of explained the equipment we use in general details and generalities. There you go. But yeah, if you guys haven't watched that, watch it. It's if you're interested in the studio and how we got here. We've also got a video. Let me think here. I think we're 2 or 3 videos away from talking about the Rewood that you guys see up here behind me. They sent me the product and I used it and I liked it, and that video is coming out soon. Lindsay Kirshner, what is up, Lindsay? Of course you would say Texas is the best. You Texans.
Lindsay's the best. I know Lindsay well.
That's right.
Yeah. Not only is she kicking butt in the industry here, but she's also the chief experience officer for our Contractor Sales Academy. So she ropes us crazy guys in and make sure that we do our damn job. So anyway.
I love that job title so much.
Yeah, chief experience officer. She's the one that says, you probably need to communicate that in a different way. You might want to think about this. So we're planning this event down in Destin, Florida. That's later this month. And I tell you, without Lindsay, this thing ain't happening. So Lindsay, you're awesome. Thank you.
Now, Tom, let me ask you. So my sister Sarah runs our residential side of Ozark Fence here, and she's our client experience officer. And she likes to remind me daily that I made her CEO. Has Lindsay brought that up to you guys that technically it's CEO?
Don't tell her that.
Sorry.
Her head will get big.
Every day I hear about that in the office. I walk in, she's like, "Hey, say good morning to your CEO."
So I want to give props here real quick to Lindsay, because in our sales academy there, I have 2 other partners and we're all very type A people, me, Steve, and Derek. And then we got a couple other coaches and got a decent sized team delivering what we're delivering. Yeah. And Lindsay publicly here, YouTube live. It's been really cool seeing her journey over the last year or so, year and a half, whatever it's been. I don't even know how long we've had you in that position, year and a half. And where Lindsay's now not holding back, like she's giving us shit. She's calling us out on stuff. And that's exactly what you want. If anybody watching this, and this is a coaching moment because I can't help it. When you hire somebody and you give them a role, you got to let them do their job, even if that means calling your ass out on things. Absolutely. And making sure that you're being accountable to things that you said that you would do in the company and stuff like that. So props to Lindsay. It's been awesome watching you grow. And yeah, she's probably gonna be running everything here in the next couple of weeks. So.
It's funny you say that. We'll talk about that for a second. So, Sarah, like I said, my sister Sarah runs our residential division, and we made her the client experience officer so that both she and our clients understand exactly what she's responsible for. It doesn't get much clearer than that. But she also has a different perspective than I do. Right. And I need that. I think every business needs opposing, views sometimes.
Yeah.
And so she and I will have discussions, and sometimes they get heated. And all it takes though is for her to remind me. She's like, "Listen, you brought me here for a reason. My job, I am responsible for the client experience.
Yeah.
This is good for the client experience, and that's what you need me for." Yep.
100%. It's, I learned this lesson 20 years ago now, or whatever it's been. But one of the secret sauce, top secret success buttons that I think a contractor can push is really everything that surrounds the work, right? I come from the painting industry, and the 9 out of 10 times the actual paint job's pretty damn good.
Sure.
With anybody, regardless of how they represent themselves, regardless if they were on time, regardless if they left a mess, but it's all those things that surround the actual project that make up the experience. It's, if I buy the job and sign a contract with you today, and we're not doing the job for 2 months, what's happening in between that time? We call it, in my world, we call it minding the gap. Like, what can I do from an experience point of view to keep the relationships warm? And we perform, Joe, you guys build a fence every day. If I hired you to build a fence, I don't know what's supposed to happen. I don't know what the timing is. I don't know, that you're not here for days doesn't mean that you're not doing something for my project.
Right.
And so
Absolutely.
I just recently hired Matt Heiner, Heiner Outdoor Living here in Colorado Springs, where I live, and to do a pretty, we have a small backyard. We live in we're going to keep this house. I just bought this house, and we're going to live here because our daughters are in their last couple years of high school. So we kind of need to be where we're at. I'd rather be up on a mountain or on a beach, but we're in a subdivision. And so, we're going to either rent this out, Airbnb it, or sell it in a few years. But the plan is to move to Scottsdale. I'd like to move to Scottsdale.
Nice area.
Just get where it's nice and warm. But my point here is we hired Matt, and Matt's been amazing, guys. He sent me, I'll pull it up and I'll share it here real quick. I'll throw it on. All right. Because it's this simple. He sent me this picture, and he says, there's two pictures here.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. And these guys working there, and he goes, "Hey, dude, this is going to be so epic. We're working on your water feature base and all that other stuff right now in the shop. So this is part of the experience. Like, I gave him a deposit a while ago. He's coming late next week to start demo, but he's sending me these little updates, and it's just wetting my whistle, man. It's making me more excited to do this project because, here's just these pictures of, he's done it several times. Hey, we're in the shop right now, and, we started doing this. Here's a picture of this. Guys, the experience, people just want to know that you're thinking about them. They want you to know that you just didn't give you a deposit, and then you disappeared, and then you wake up the day of the job and go, "Oh shit, we're supposed to paint Joe's house today." Right.
Right.
And so, so there's guys, that is really the edge. If you want to, in fact, Joe, we'll get into this later, but I talk a lot about selling your work at a 50% and better. Guys, when the experience is top notch, it justifies why you're more money. A lot of you guys can't sell work at higher prices, not because you don't do good work, but you do a shitty job of building the relationship and communication and the whole experience thing. And if you're not strong in that, I recommend that you find somebody who is, and maybe they already work for you, and you appoint them the chief experience officer and really look at it from the customer's point of view. What's it really like here? Interview some of your top customers that you trust. I've done this in the past where I'm like, "Hey, listen, I know we're not perfect. You've used us several times. I appreciate it. What do you love about us, and what do you hate about us that needs to change?" And they'll tell you the truth because they want you to get better. If you push it, you communicate that in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And here's one thing we found too, is that if you're not giving your clients updates and they've got questions. They're going to start generating their own version of what's going on
They
in their
make
minds.
shit up in their own head, right?
Right. They're like, you know what? I wonder what's going on. They're like, you know what? I bet what's going on is this, this, and this. When that couldn't be the first thing for the truth, or maybe it isn't, but they're making up their own version of what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas a simple email or a text with a picture or video saying, "Hey, guess what? Right now, for us in Finch, right now we're actually pre-staining your boards. So there's going to go from Western Red Cedar. We're going to dip it in, the chestnut, and this thing's going to come out looking great. Here's a quick picture of it." You're like, "Oh wow, they're not going to be here for 2 weeks, and they're already doing that." Oh, okay. So they're already at work on my project behind the scenes. And
listen, it could even be a picture of your company meeting where you take a selfie and you go, and I shoot you a text or an email and I go, "Hey, Joe, the team and I are here. I know we're not starting for another week or two or a month or whatever, but we're actually working through some of the logistics and planning on your project. Can't wait to see you in a couple weeks. Hit me up if you have any questions." Yep. Boom, done. Yep. So don't overcomplicate it.
Just checking in because I don't want you to think that I took your money and I'm headed to the Bahamas.
Yeah, I have not forgotten about you. I promise.
So, Tom, have you heard of there's a baseball team, an independent baseball team called the Savannah Bananas?
I have. Mike McAllowitz's book.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I had Mike on my podcast twice, but it's in his books, and really about being different.
That's right. So, standing out and making a difference. So I chatted. So the gentleman that owns the Savannah Bananas, I chatted with him at Social Media Marketing World, and it was probably like 2 years ago. And he was like, we got onto this subject. And here's the funny thing is, I'm a fence guy. He owns a ball team. You're a coach and you've had a painting, but we all have similar experiences, right? Yeah. And he was like, one of our pain points was that, we require someone to buy their ticket up front and then we send it to them. And so one of the questions was, where's my ticket? Right? I gave you the money. Now where's my ticket? So when you buy a ticket now, and here's the thing is you can't buy a ticket at the Savannah Bananas because they're sold out like forever. But if you were to buy a ticket, you get a video like almost immediately. It's like, it's like a selfie video, right? So it's him going, "Guys, it happened again. Somebody bought a ticket." And everyone's like in the background, "Yeah. All right, here's what we got to do. We got to print that ticket. You print the ticket right now." It's like, "All right, I'm printing the ticket right now." And it's like, "All right, now." And then he grabs a ticket and he runs out like, "All right, you've got to mail this ticket. Mail it right now." And she's like, "Yes, sir." And it's a whole experience, right? Yeah. And so, and it's an incredibly humorous perspective of what's going on. But the underlying message here is, we got you taken care of. We're printing this thing.
We're dialed in. We're on this, right? And that's that communication. I love that, man. There's a great tool, and hopefully you're okay with this. I'm just going to throw some tools in here. There's a couple, but the one I used to use a thing called Bonjoro.
Yeah.
Bonjoro.
Yes.
For some reason lately it's been acting up on my phone, so I deleted it, and now I'm using Vidyard. Vidyard. Vidyard, and it's a really cool app, just like Joe you were talking, where you do a selfie video.
Yep.
And I can do it right here. I just pull this thing up.
Nice.
I go, "Hey Joe, we just finished, designing your blah blah blah, and we're excited and blah blah blah," and I hit that, and then I could give the video a little title. Okay. And then I can send the link. And here's the cool thing, guys. Why I like doing this is I get an alert when they've watched it.
Yep.
They saw the video. So if you guys are looking for a cool thing, I'm using Vidyard. I liked Bonjoro. I actually liked it better, but I don't know why my phone's acting up with it. So I was like, whatever.
And I'm glad you said that, Tom. So that's actually something that we've gotten away from, and I don't actually know why. We use Bonjoro a lot. It integrated with our CRM, and so once they accepted a job, we got pinged, and I would shoot a quick video like, "Hey, Tom, it's Joe with Ozark Fence. I just got the notification that you've accepted your work. You got your contract in and deposit in. I can't wait to meet you and talk about your project. Yeah. Here's a link to schedule time for me to come out and talk to you more." But since it was a video, it was so much more impactful than just an email.
Yeah.
It was me. And I would do it wherever I was, because the more real you can make it, the better.
Yeah.
So whether it's I'm I had at the time my son was really little. I'd have my son be like, "Hey, it's me and Jackson, and Jackson, say hi," that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I would just do it wherever. Or if I was driving, I would wait till I was pulled over somewhere. But if I was in the truck or if I was, at the mall, wherever, send him a message. Send him at the time it was Bonjoro, but I'm going to look into Vidyard now.
yeah. Like I said, I liked Bonjoro. It was annoying me, and I just haven't taken the time to figure out why. Maybe there's an update or something I did it do, but it was just getting glitchy on me. But yeah, there's great tools out there, and the reason this is important, you guys, is we're in a people business. No matter what product you're doing or what service you're doing, you're still dealing with people. And the more trust you can build and the more real you could be and authentic I hate that word now because everyone uses it, but
right.
The more you can do that, like trust goes up, they spend more money with you. Buyer's remorse is reduced because, they just cut you a deposit check for $20,000 for something. And now they're waiting a couple months. They're like, hey, where's my money? Right.
Sure.
This is a great way to stay in touch. Another way that this Bonjoro and Vidyard stuff can work, guys, is communicating scopes of work to your team. So now I'm not talking like a whole house remodel or something. But there's something specific. Like today in one of my coaching calls in 100K, we had a guy who does audio visual stuff in California. And he's like, yeah, my guys put the speakers on like the wrong side of this column or pillar in somebody's house, right?
Yep.
And he's like, and we talked about it, and I'm like, dude, when you were out on the job, you could have easily, when you were out there bidding the job or selling the job or walking the job, whatever you're doing, you could have done a video. Hey guys, like, I don't know who's going to end up doing this job, but they want the 2 speakers here. They want this thing here. See this thing over here. This is an heirloom that is from, first century China, that if we break it, they're going to execute all of us because it's been in the family forever. You could use that and then send it to your team. And then you could tell when they've watched it, you'll get an alert. So, it was communicated, right? And then you could save the video. They can, guys, video is, if you're not using these tools out there, you're making things harder. So
absolutely.
Anyway,
well, Tom, I'm passionate about video in general, just because there's obviously verbal communication, but there's a lot more that you can convey through video than you can just through a picture or just explaining it, because, video is impactful. You can see someone's expression and be like, hey, listen, do not screw this thing right here up, or else it's all of us in this. So, you can emphasize a little bit more too. I like that tip a lot.
Yep.
Let's say hi to a few more people here and then get cranking on the content here for you guys. So Roger is with us, of course, from Houston, another Texan. Ashley Roth, hello. Welcome back. Checking in from Standing Steel Experts in Nashville, Tennessee. Ashley, welcome. Appreciate you tuning in. Of course, if you guys always know, Standing Steel Experts sponsors the live broadcast. I appreciate them a lot. Not only do I appreciate them, I came to know Standing Steel Experts because we've used a ton of it. I like it. My guys like it. If you stain fences, you should probably check it out. Funny story. I actually met you, Tom, through Caleb's podcast.
I did. Caleb and Ashley are amazing people, and I'm totally blown away, not surprised, but blown away and excited for how quickly they're really coming on the scene. And you talk about 2 people have been laser focused, adding value, approaching things different than any other manufacturer. So I'm telling you guys, and top of that, it's an awesome product.
Right.
Okay? But I'm like, there's a lot of companies that have an awesome product, but I don't hitch my wagon to them because of the leadership, if that makes sense.
Right.
So, I think if you're any stain seal applications, things like that, if you're not digging into what these guys have going on, then you're missing out. So
you should at least check them out. That's the thing, is if you check them out and if you watch the video content, you'll understand what they're about.
Yeah.
And authentic gets thrown around a lot. Passion gets thrown around a lot. But you want to talk about people who are authentic and passionate about what they're doing. It's Caleb, Ashley, and their team. Mm-hmm. And they are just, yes, they sponsor the channel, guys, but this is like legit. I like these people. They are good people.
Well, Joe, let's talk about the journey of that real quick here. I got a request for you about one of our coaching programs.
Yep.
And you and I got on the phone. I'll never forget. I was pacing around in a certain part of my office on the phone with you. I remember it like it was yesterday. And you're like, yeah, I want to be in your program. And I'm like, okay. And, we're talking. I'm like, where'd you hear about us? And he's like, oh, I heard you on Caleb's podcast. And this was a time when you were not into the staining, sealing, cleaning, and all the stuff you're doing now.
That's
You were
right.
building gazillion dollars worth of fences a year, right? Installing them. And you saw, you ended up on the podcast with them somehow, listening to stuff, heard us. But then you became a total student of the game of what they're doing. You went down and got training. You've done all this other stuff. So this isn't like just you go and I have a sponsor here that I don't really know. You've been really walking side by side with them for a few years, man.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. So I met Caleb so Caleb has a free Facebook page where it's just called Stain and Seal Experts, and they help people, stain better fences or learn more about it. And the thing about Caleb, the thing that really caught my attention was he'll talk about his stain. He'll talk about someone else's stain. He'll talk and in positive ways, right? You're like, okay, well, if you're using so-and-so's, you need to use it like this and with this tip and be careful about this. And as long as you do this, this, and this, it will look great.
Yep.
And not say, hey, you should really think about using our stain. You'd be like, all right, if this is what you're using, let's get you doing the best stain job you can. And so I watched his video content, and then he has a podcast. I started listening to all the podcasts. And like, I gotta figure this out. I really do. And anyway, he took a lot of time with me, and we figured it out.
Well, here's what happened is Caleb understands the value in adding value to people, right? And as do you, and so do I. But we'll just use that. And so. And this is for any of you guys that have a business, you're trying to grow your business. The more value you put out in the world, the more you educate, the more you position yourself as an expert, the more good stuff's going to come back your way.
Absolutely.
And it might not be tomorrow. It might not be next week. Sure. In fact, here's a little stat for you. It's fresh on my brain. My average customer in any of our programs has been consuming our videos and podcasts for an average of 18 months before they become a customer. Okay. Which was kind of crazy, but here's the other one. When somebody opts into our email list, it's an average of 93 days until they spend their first penny with us. And that could be a swag on our website. It could be a coaching program. It could be a fight night. It could be whatever. But I say this because one of my company values in the contractor fight is play the long game.
Sure.
Right? I'm not about the quick transaction. Caleb, we're not about the quick transaction. We're in this for the long haul. And that's what I appreciate about Caleb there is he's modeling for all of us, man, add value, be an educator, you know, you don't beat your competition by bashing them. You beat them by you being more remarkable in your marketing. You stand out more. You do something that no one else is doing. I don't know. And to be fair, it's been a while since I really gave a shit, right? I'm a former painting contractor, but paint manufacturers and stain manufacturers typically don't do, workshop days and coach their people how to use their stuff and how to make money and all that. And I was barking to the big paint companies many, many years ago. We were buying a lot of paint from them in my company. And I'm like, I want your reps to add value to my business.
Yep.
Absolutely. I don't care about the technical side. I already use your stuff because I believe in the product.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But if you want I don't want to just make a decision over a couple dollars a gallon. I want to partner with somebody that's helping me truly grow my business and giving resources to me and send me an article now and then, or invite me to something or whatever it is. And so I'm confident that what Caleb and this team have going on there, this is going to be part of their culture going forward. And that's to me, one of their big differentiators.
I agree. And Caleb is their spokesman, right? The head of the company is the one that's in front of the company or in front of the customers. I think that makes a big difference.
Yep.
I was talking to a group of power washers in Atlanta a few weeks ago, and one of the things I told them is you need to start doing video today, and it needs to be you. because you are your best spokesman, because you are the head of the company. So people need to know you. They need to like you. They need to trust you. And I brought out an interesting article. So in the 1980s, Nike and Reebok and Adidas and all them were all kind of locked in a deadlock of one couldn't outperform the other. And so Nike in some meeting somewhere said, you know what we need? We need a spokesman. We got to have someone that people already know, like, and trust to represent our company. And who would they find?
Michael Jordan.
Bingo. As of last year, May of last year, Forbes wrote this article. As of May of last year, they had paid him $1.2 billion with a B dollars to be their spokesman. Wow. I firmly believe that's because there wasn't anyone named John Nike repping their own product.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. They could have saved a tremendous amount of money and had maybe not as tremendous of growth, but if they had someone who was responsible for the brand to say, hey, this is me, this is my company, we build great shoes, and I think you'll appreciate them. Like, I think it could have been just as impactful. And so that's kind of the gist of what I was telling these guys is by you being your spokesman and being in front of your clients on a daily basis, preferably through video so that they can feel like they're forming a relationship with you, and you'll be better for it. Your company will be better for it.
100%, man.
Let's keep on saying hi to some folks. Candace, what is up, Candace? So Candace is our rock star down in the office. So she's actually about 60 feet away from me right now in our front office. She takes really good care of people. I appreciate you guys tuning in the office. Stay and Seal Fort Worth. What's up, Joe and Tom? What is up, Stay and Seal Fort Worth? So is Lindsay like switching between like accounts right now? I don't know. Paul Peck, what is up, Paul? How are you? I appreciate you. So Paul Peck has a YouTube called Drywall Tube. And honestly, so Paul's channel is one of the ones that I've watched in the past when I'm trying to figure out like what kind of content to put out. And I still watch his content a lot because I just like watching the content he puts out.
He makes drywall sexy, man.
He does. Well, I mean, it's one of those videos where I'll be like 2 a.m. Like, why am I watching a drywall video? Because I have no intention.
Joe, I just pictured you in your recliner at 2 a.m. going, yeah, baby, tape that scene, man. That's hot.
Well, not quite, because I was holding like my newborn. So it wasn't quite like that.
Fair enough. There you go. Fair enough.
But I still found myself watching drywall content. And like I said, I have no intention of re-drywalling my house or anything. But if I do, I'm going to know what I'm up to.
Awesome.
So, Paul, thank you for putting out great content. I really appreciate it. So, Lindsay, these comments have been up for a little while. So, Lindsay was saying, thanks, guys, when we were talking about her being the rock star for CSA or for Contractor Fight.
Yep.
All right. So, House Right wanted to know how you spell the app. So, Tom threw it in the comments.
Yep, I replied there. There you go.
Absolutely. Bo is back with us. Bo, welcome back. He's from Redding, California. So, we got some West Coast representation here now.
Oh, that's good.
So we had some East Coast. We've got the South pretty well covered down in Texas. Now we have some West Coast. Paul, you're very welcome. You're incredibly welcome because if you guys, again, if you're wanting to learn, if you're wanting to get into YouTube and learn kind of what content does well and what people like to watch Paul. And if you emulate him and his content, you'll do well. Absolutely.
And while Paul's watching this, dude, Paul, shoot me an email because I have a couple questions for you about some future content. So I was going to just do this offline, but I figure if you're watching this right now, if you just email Tom at thecontractorfight.com and a way to just reach out to you, I want to ask you a couple questions, see if you'd be interested in a couple things. So
beautiful.
He's literally been on our, I can't pull it up now. It's on this, but I have a list of people I want to have some conversations with, and he's one of them. So.
Very cool. You know, I've upgraded laptops since then, but so I met Paul at a YouTube convention, and he gave me one of his stickers, or maybe a social media marketing world. It was one of the other. I think it was Vid Summit. Anyway,
he just one of his comments. It was Vid Summit.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yep, absolutely. They're in LA. So I had one of his stickers on my laptop for ever since I met him because I slapped it on there.
That's funny.
And it would, so if you go back to some of my earlier videos where like I did reactions and all that, his sticker's right there at the top. So Jeremy, my videographer, has now inherited that laptop. And so the sticker is still there and is still in good shape. JJ, welcome back. JJ's back with us from Northeast Ohio. So we got a pretty good group of the US here.
Not bad.
Very good. Well, guys, here's the thing. So like I said before, we're going to get into some content here so that we can maybe create some miniature videos moving forward from this. So we're going to do that for a few minutes, and then we're going to come back to the comments, chat with you guys for a little bit longer. So if you do have questions about something that we're talking about, leave them in the comments below, and we'll be back. We'll be back to the comments here in about 2 or 3 minutes. So let me do this. I'm gonna, and keep in mind, guys, I'm a fence guy trying to do technology. So like, let's all keep that in mind for a little bit. All right, we're gonna do this for a second. So Tom, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us and try to educate us a little bit on business finance and why it's important. And one of the questions I get the most revolves around gross profit and net profit, to be fair. Profit in general. I think people use the term profit to talk both about gross profit and net profit.
Yeah.
Can you give us a rundown? What's the difference between gross profit and net profit?
Yeah, and it's important when you're talking profit with somebody that you have the context of what you're talking about. So you're talking, one of you's not talking about gross and the other's talking net, right? So here's a crash course. I have a download somewhere about all these math definitions for contractors.
Yeah.
So sales is what you get a signed agreement on, right? You get a signed agreement. So I sold a $10,000 job, a $20,000 job. I have 20 grand in sales.
Yep.
Revenue is what I've collected and deposited in the bank.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of go down the list here real quick.
Sure.
So your sales should outpace your revenue. Like if I sell 20 grand, get a $10,000 deposit today in April 1st here, I have 10 grand in April of revenue, but I might not do that job for a month, right? So the other 10 grand will be revenue in another month.
Sure. That makes sense.
So sales revenue. Cost of goods sold, COGS, or what's also known as direct costs.
Yep.
That means what is it? What do I get the privilege? Here it is. I got a check here. What do I get the privilege of writing a check for to produce the job for Mrs. Jones?
Okay.
That's what cost of goods is, guys.
Yep.
It's what I'm buying materials. I'm paying for the labor. I'm paying the work comp. I'm buying the permit. I'm renting the equipment. Whatever I'm doing, I get the privilege of spending that money. I'm basically paying for Mrs. Jones's project.
Yep.
Okay. And then on the other end, we hope that I charge Mrs. Jones enough to cover, right, what I've spent and then some. So cost of goods is what's it cost me. So you got what I sold the job for, 20 grand. If it cost me 10, I got 10 grand left. That $10,000 is what's called gross profit. That's what I have to pay overhead with. And then after overhead, if there's any left, that's the net profit. And so a lot of times, guys, when I grew up and when I started my first business 20-something years ago, whatever it was, the word on the street was, you figure out what it's going to cost you and add 10%. Like that's what all the old timers were doing. And no wonder all the contractors I knew were freaking broke. Okay. Sure. So we have a rule, and let me just say this. I know that I'm all over because I get super excited about the gross profit talk. Yay.
Right.
Guys, this is the fastest way to get your ass out of the financial gutter. It's the fastest way to pay off debt. It's the fastest way to get your personal income doubled in a few short months. It's the fastest way to be able to have enough money to recruit and market and train your team and build a brand and all those things is raise your gross profit. And so in my world, in the fight, regardless of your trade, this is where, Joe, the backlash I get.
Yep.
Everyone calls BS on this, but I've had custom home builders that are in our programs. I've had painters. I've had drywallers. I've had electricians. I've had ponds, you name it. I've had guys in big cities. I've had guys in little rural areas where there's like 4 teeth collectively in the town. Okay. Like I've we've had every different contractor. And I'm telling you, 50% gross profit will change your life. So you get there by basically going, all right, I'm going to spend $1,000 on material. I'm going to spend $2,000 on labor. Okay, what am I at? $3,000 now, and another grand on renting something to do the job, right?
Sure.
Whatever. So I'm at $4,000. That's what it's going to cost me if I finish on time and don't go over the man hours. If I don't spend more on material. So if I hit the job,
everything goes perfectly.
Yeah, if everything goes perfect, I'm going to spend $4,000. So we teach people, take that $4,000 times 2, sell the job at least $8,000.
Yep.
Here's where the pushback comes. Tom, you don't know my industry. You don't know my market. My competitors are, and I'm not ripping on any race here, but this is what I hear all the time. Like the hot flavor of the month right now is the Brazilians. Oh man, the Brazilians, they're like, giving that stuff away. That's what we're hearing out here in Colorado, up in Denver stuff. Okay, guys, I don't care where somebody's from. I don't care. Don't give me this crap that, oh, I can't sell at higher prices because all the unlicensed guys in my area, all the illegals in my, you know what? You can't sell at higher prices because you haven't first believed you can. And second, you haven't gotten the training to do it. There's a way to do it in a way where people will actually be happy to pay whatever price you put out there if you truly learn to connect with them in your sales process, in your marketing, because everything's connected. And the experience that we were talking about earlier in this thing all supports that. So here's the other thing, Joe, I just want to be fair to my customers.
Right.
If this is costing me $4,000, man, I can't charge them $8,000.
Yeah. That's okay for you guys, but I don't want to rip off my customers.
I don't want to. Well, here's ripping them off. Ripping them off is when you're not in business in a few years to honor the warranty when they have a problem with your project. Ripping them off is when you're not in business when they refer you to somebody because they had a great experience with you and you did a great job, but you didn't make enough money to stay in business. Now their friend gets ripped off from a good experience with you and working with a good company that's trustworthy. You rip off your customers and you're not fair to your customers when you don't have enough money to train them and equip them properly. And I'm talking training, not just in the trade, but how to deal with people. Okay? And the experience, safety training, all these things, guys, that's what your gross profit pays for. It pays for your shop rent. It pays for your marketing. It pays for your association dues. It pays for coaching if you're going to get coaching. It pays for your internet services for the business. I mean, to me, overhead is anything that we still have to pay, even if I don't do any projects this month. Right? Yeah. You still have a mortgage on your building. You still have the marketing agreement. You're still paying money.
Utilities.
Utilities, your cell phones, your truck payments, all those things. Guys, that's what your gross profit is for. Yeah. And it also should include your salary, by the way. All right. So,
well, and one thing I like to interject here, Tom, is you're not telling people to bring them 30% gross profit worth of value, but charge 50%. No, the point is figure out how to bring that much, the commensurate, the equal amount of value or more.
Yep.
And then charge 50% gross profit. I mean, that's the secret, right? Is to figure out how to bring 60% gross profit worth of value, but only charge 50% gross profit worth, only charge them that much, give them more value than what you're charging for.
The only thing that's unfair to your clients is if they're paying a lot of money and not getting the value that you promised them. If they're not getting the experience that they want, if you're not doing the project and delivering it in a way that is going to fulfill their ultimate motives for doing the job, like we talk about in our sales process, that's when you're not doing your job and you're ripping them off.
Right.
Here's the other thing. A lot of pushback is I can't raise my prices to that because, that'll just price me out of the market.
Yeah.
It's not your job to find their money.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Matt Heiner, who I talked about, is charging me a lot. Did I say that again? A lot of money to do my project here that's starting.
Sure.
And I'm happy to pay it. It was on me to find the money. It wasn't Matt's problem. Matt has built an amazing brand he's world renowned in landscape design and what he does. He's been flown all over the place to design stuff. He's a freaking rock star in this industry. And I was happy to figure out, okay, where am I going to pull the money from for this? Where am I, are we really going to go all in? And the right people, the right clients, the people that we all want to work with and for doing our projects, they'll gladly find the money if you can prove the value. And you prove the value before you get to the job site by like, Joe, you got your orange thing going, man. Your brand is always solid. You have somebody who answers the phone. You communicate well. You're sending the videos. You are anticipating needs and issues and problems, and you communicate those things. You are doing so many things that prove that you're worth it, that their distrust and fear totally goes down because you keep bringing the goods with people that can communicate well. They can read, write, spell. They don't stink, right? They don't look like they just rolled out of bed that was made in an ashtray, right? And then they knock on the door. Hey, I'm here for your estimate.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, man, it's guys, 50%, that's a starting point.
Right.
Now there are times that you don't need to get a 50%. Okay. But what I'm talking right out of the gate, like I work with a guy right now, his sweet spot is 42%. That's a sweet spot. They can operate their business and they could be really profitable and all that other stuff at the 42 because they know their numbers, their overheads under control. They're good with budgeting and bookkeeping and getting paid, and they're charging enough. And there's so many efficiencies and all these other things that I won't get into now, but they only got to that point and through years of really understanding what their numbers are. And the reason I come out of the gate with 50, Joe, is just an easy thing to figure out for the majority of home improvement contractors that just really don't know their numbers and they don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. So you go, what's this thing going to cost me? Multiply pi times 2, sell it there. I see we have a question here. So, sorry, this is your show, man. I'm used to my show. I'll just shut up. There we go.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Let's bring it up. Let's bring the question up. So the question is, and I love the name, by the way, Active Dad's Rule. So if this job will cost me $2,800, which includes materials, labor, then I quote the customer $5,600 for the job. Pretty straightforward.
Yep.
2,800 times 2 is 5,600. That's absolutely right. As long as you plan to bring as much or more value that justifies $5,600. And I want to be so clear about that because, I mean, Tom, you see it in the same groups that I see it in, where guys say, well, I could never do that. And Listen, if you're only planning on bringing the current value that you're at, you're probably right. You're probably priced correctly for the amount of value you're bringing. And that's no disrespect. That's not an insult. It's the market is paying you, so you are priced correctly.
Yeah.
Figure out how to bring more value and how to communicate the value, and then step up to the 50% gross profit.
So here's the chicken and egg thing, man. Okay. A lot of contractors are not bringing the value they want because they didn't charge enough. And so they're trying to get off this job quickly, get the deposit on the next one to fund their cash flow for the week and pay their bills. And so they end up closing out a job in a half-assed way. They limp, I mean, think about this. You give somebody $15, $20, $50, $100,000 for a project. And then the last day of the job, they're like whipping all their tools into the truck as the sun's going down. I call it being a frantic finisher. And you go, your final payment is $63,000. I'll take a check. All right, we'll see you later. And they're off into the sunset. Like, that's not the way to wrap a job up. I did a video years ago called Don't Be a Frantic Finisher.
Yep.
Okay. Because anyway, I won't talk about the video, but the point here is, if you're not charging enough, you don't have enough money to pay really good people. You don't have money you're always looking to the next job to make up for what you should have charged on the previous job. And so, to your point, 100%, we got to deliver the value. Here's the other side that I've seen, Joe, and it's funny. Several times here you've said, don't charge more if you're not bringing the value.
Yeah.
Which is 100% true. My experience being under the hood of so many contracting businesses and looking at them is most of them are delivering a pretty damn good experience for the most part. They're just undercharging.
Okay.
So I'm talking to a lot of you guys that are already bending over backwards, laying in traffic for your clients to, deliver on timetables and a great experience and clean job sites. You got to get out of your own head and start charging commensurate to the value that you've already been delivering.
Sure. Well, and
from your family. So,
and Tom, I think we know who those guys and gals are. They're the guys and gals that are booked out 6, 7, or 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's another conversation that comes up. And my point there is, every company should have their sweet spot.
Yeah.
Our sweet spot in my business is 6 weeks. So when we start getting 7 or 8 weeks out, that's a clear indication to me from my market that we are underpriced for the value.
Yeah.
The value, the perceived value, the actual value, we're underpriced. So we need to adjust our pricing accordingly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that should be a clear indication. If you're looking at your business and you see that each business is going to be different. And even in the same industry, where my sweet spot might be 6 months, the same fence company in my same town, their sweet spot could be 4 weeks, or it could be 7 weeks. Whatever your sweet spot is, figure that out first.
Yeah.
And then if you're past that, then you need to adjust your prices, because you probably are bringing, to your point, Tom, you probably are bringing more value than what you're charging for.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the worst thing you could do is give a crap about the going rate. I don't care, because Joe, you've had this conversation many times.
Yeah.
Most contractors, guys, I've done this for a long time. I've worked with thousands and thousands of companies over the past years in group formats, one-on-one workshops, whatever. I'm telling you right now, 90% of home improvement contractors don't know their numbers. So
agreed.
Just think about 90% of your competitors right now. If you're going and giving a crap about the going rate, odds are you're undercharging as well. And so it's
or
your business, mind your numbers, only give a crap about that, work on you. And if you can't sell at higher prices, it's most likely one or a combination of the fact that your marketing doesn't represent the value.
Yeah.
Or you just don't know how to sell, and selling is not barfing all over people saying, hey, we're really awesome.
Yeah.
So if you can't sell at higher rates, those are usually the two places.
Yeah, I agree. In every industry has these groups, and there's always a handful of folks in those groups saying, here's what I'm doing. Here's this project I have. What would you price it at?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't matter what I would price it at, because all of the component pieces that go into my price are going to be different than yours. Yeah. Like, I guarantee my overhead is different than yours. Even if same size company, same industry, same town, our numbers will still be different.
Yeah.
Our mortgage is different, our rent is different. We negotiate different rates on materials. We pay our labor differently. Yeah. We probably have different goals about how much profit we want left over at the end of the year. Yeah. Our businesses, while we do the same thing, they're different. The goals are different and the prices are different. So it doesn't matter.
Production rates are different.
Absolutely.
Right? This guy can install this many feet of fence per hour, and this guy might be double that.
Sure. Sure.
And in fact, one of my business partners in the past, when we first partnered, neither one of us really knew our numbers, but I'll give you an example.
Sure.
It was 20 years ago or whatever it was now, at least. He was charging $35 a man hour.
Okay.
I was charging $55 a man hour. We partnered up. We went out to bid this job together. It wasn't a real job. It was his house, right? We went to his house and we walked the exterior, and we both came up, and my price, I want to say, was call it $8,000. Sure. His price was within 5 or 10%, one way or the other. Like, we were both really close.
Yeah.
He had almost twice the man hours that I had, because I had planned on spraying the thing. He planned on doing it by hand. He worked, I don't mean this in a bad way, but he worked at a much slower pace, more meticulous. I came from more of a production background and, using the technology and the tools. So you don't know how somebody's bidding their job. You don't know, like you said, they're over it. I mean, Joe, here, let me do this exercise with everybody real quick.
You bet.
Do you know what it costs you? Not you, Joe, but do you know what it costs you if you have employees just simply to send a guy to somebody's house for 1 hour? And I'm not even talking what you pay the guy. Okay.
No, the cost to the company.
Yeah. And so like, let's just say I have overhead of $200,000 a year.
Yep.
Okay. Super low overhead. That includes my owner's salary, maybe somebody in the office, some marketing, our mortgage, all this. Not a lot of money. Okay. Sure. 16,000 something a month or whatever, 16,666 or whatever that is.
Yep.
So you got $200,000 divided by 12 months. There it is. 16,666. Yep. I proved it. Okay. Say I got 3 field employees that just work in the field. So what's 1, 2, 3? What's that? 480 man hours a month.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just going to round this to 16,700 for the math.
Sure.
I got 480 man hours a month that I'm paying my guys. That's 40 hours a week roughly. But remember, that might not all be production hours. So when we would do our budgeting, I would take that 480 and I'd go times 0.9.
Yep.
It's really 432 production hours.
Yep.
Okay. Because there's drive time that there's company meetings, right?
Staff meetings. Yep.
A meeting that we pay for, but we're not producing.
Absolutely.
So 432. So I go 16,700 divided by 432 man hours. It costs $38, $39 times an 8-hour day for one guy, 309 hours before I even pay my guy what he makes.
Sure. Yeah.
It's costing me to send him to the house because we're recouping our overhead across the board with all our field employees. And so you go, what did I say? 38, call it $40, round up for the easy math. Sure. And then I pay Billy, $15 an hour. I throw that on top of that, plus the burden on Billy's labor, which might be another $7. So now it's really $62, and 38 of that is just recoup overhead.
Well, and that's cost.
Yeah, it's cost.
Yep.
So
I agree, Tom. And this is another conversation that we get into in these groups is knowing your numbers so that you know what your minimum trip charge is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you're going to pay him for that hour, but teleportation is not a thing yet. So he's still got to get there, and he's going to stop along the way because he needs fuel or needs a snack, whatever. He's going to stop along the way.
Whatever.
Yep. Yeah. Maybe he has to stop by the supply house. There's extra time involved here. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, I'm a huge proponent of knowing exactly where your numbers are to know what your minimum charge for this guy or gal to leave. For their vehicle to clear the gate, it costs this many dollars. This is our minimum. And our minimum includes the work up to that, right? But and if it's more, then we can discuss that before we get started. All of that stuff. But you've got to know what your numbers are so that you know what that minimum charge is. And am I bringing the right amount of value? Am I bringing more value? Should I be charging more? Knowing your numbers down to the penny it only benefits you, your family, your customers. Family's a big conversation that we have is that, here's the thing is I made a deal with my family, and my deal is I provide for my family, right? The deal is I leave for work and they don't see me the majority of the day, the majority of the week, sometimes Saturdays. They don't see me much. Yeah. And my part of the deal is I provide for the family. When they want to go places, they get to go. Or when they need to buy something, there's money in the account for my wife to go grocery shopping, right? That's the deal. So let's talk about not ripping my family off by me spending all my time away, coming home tired, sore, grumpy. That happens occasionally. And also not being able to provide for them. That's the biggest ripoff of all.
Yeah, add all that up. we steal money, we steal time, we steal memories, we steal our own health because all we do is work and we think I'm just going to hard work my way into making more money. Yeah. And you're like the fly beaten against the window, drops dead on the windowsill when there was another way out of the room. And so, dude, I remember, one of a million examples, but I remember taking my kids out for ice cream once on a vacation and I couldn't afford it. I wasn't sure if my credit card was going to work or my debit card at the time. And this was on a vacation. And I'm like, all right, everybody order a small. I didn't get any, right? It pissed me off. Or I used to do this thing called insert and pray at the gas pump, right? Because I was, this is many, many years ago. Or I'd take a prospective client or somebody to lunch and I go, I got it. And every time, and this is funny about our head trash, right? I got a bunch of stuff on the walls around here about the way we think, what we think we become and all this other stuff. But it's been a very, 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 very long time since I had to worry about the money thing. Okay.
Sure.
To this day, I still, every time I hand my credit card to somebody, there's still this part of me that just goes, man. Dude, I took my queen on, and her and I went on this epic vacation down to the Waldorf Astoria down in Cabo, spent a shit ton of money. And the day you get there, you pull in, blah, blah, blah. This is in January. They sit down, they open up this beautiful leather binder with your, this is what it's costing and this and that. And we're going to take this much on the credit card. And I'm like, handing the credit card. And mind you, my bookkeeper, Gina, who's amazing, she's like, there's hardly ever a balance on my cards. Like things are just paid, which is another topic here, guys. Knowing your numbers doesn't mean you have to do your numbers. So that don't take the pressure off yourself. Okay. And dude, I handed that thing and they took it over to the other side of the counter. And I sat there and my queen is next to me. She's enjoying the drink they've given her. She has no idea what's rolling through my mind at this point. Right. And the whole time I'm like all puckered up going, boy, I hope that works. Boy. But guys, this is how deep some of our head trash is. All right. Absolutely. And you've got to go on a full frontal assault to get rid of those limiting beliefs about money and your value and what you can charge, what you can make. And the point here, Joe, to wrap up this money thing is, guys, it generally costs 2 to 3 times more than you think it does to run your business. The thing that drives me crazy about guys when they go, I really don't have any overhead. It's just me. I'm like, you're out of your mind. You have a ton of overhead. Okay. And you think 10 grand a month is a lot of overhead? Oh my God. No, not at all. So, just think about the $16,000 a month overhead in the example I just gave, 200 grand a year. You pay yourself 100 and you're worth 100. Okay. So now you only got another 100 to market the business, pay for the trucks. Okay. Have a net profit after all this other crap. So you can pay taxes. Right. So whatever, man, it's like charge more. That's my point.
That's right. That's right. And,
charge more.
And to reiterate, 50% is not set in stone, right? It's a goal. And we use that goal here. Most of the time we land about 46 or 47%.
Right.
It's not 50, but it's also not 30, which is where we used to be. If you rewind the clock before I met you, before I got plugged in with like-minded individuals, 30% was kind of our normal, 33%, because if for whatever reason in fencing, the normal was you multiply it by 1.5.
Yeah.
That nets you out about 33%.
That's a 33% gross profit, 1.5 multiplier.
That's right.
Yep.
And that worked for us, Now, we had vehicles that would break down, right? So that led to delays in production. We couldn't afford a lot of equipment, so it was a lot of manpower and less efficiencies. So I got plugged in with you, and I will be the first one to say this, Tom, and I've told you, I was that guy that's like, well, Tom, it works for a lot of guys. I get it. But I'm a fence guy and I'm in Springfield, Missouri. So like, while that does work for other people, and you say what you always say, like, I don't care who you are and where you are and what you do. This is possible as long as you figure out how to bring the correct amount of value.
Yeah. There's always somebody. There's always a buyer that will resonate with you and will pay your prices. I don't care what you're selling.
Sure.
Right? If the going rate for a website is $5,000, there's somebody that will pay $100,000 for the same damn website, and they want that red carpet experience with you. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter.
Well, and the example that gets used a lot is steaks, right? I can go buy a steak at, my local butcher.
Yep.
Or I can go to Applebee's and have a steak, or I can go to Texas Roadhouse and get a steak, or I can go to the place. Everyone has the place, right? The steak place. I can go there. Now, those are 4 different levels of steak. Now, the steak, roughly going to be the same. And I understand aged and cuts, and okay, they're going to be close. But you get more expensive the more the experience and the value increases.
Yep.
Right? And hey, listen, I eat steak at Applebee's. You know what I mean? But also on Valentine's Day, I didn't take my wife to Applebee's because I knew that was not the experience that we were looking for.
Good job, Joe.
Right? I mean, I've learned a thing or two every now and then.
Yep.
My point being, your clients know what they expect and what experience that they're looking for. And you need to figure out where your value is, and you need to figure out how to communicate to your clients about the value that you're bringing.
Yep. Real quick on this 50% thing.
Yep.
Just because you sell your job at 50% doesn't mean you're going to produce it at 50. Okay.
Yep.
So if you're out there bidding your work with the going rate, 30%, 40%, and something goes wrong, and I don't even mean it's anyone's fault. Like Mother Nature says, screw you, right? I'm going to make it muddy this week on you. And now your production is slower, and it took 7 more man hours than you thought. Now, instead of the 50% or whatever, now it's down to a 47%. When you sell it at a high enough rate and things are going well, you could give a little attaboy to the customer. Like, hey, like we used to do this on exterior paint jobs. Like if our crew leaders knew, like, hey, if we're hitting the budget numbers and things are going good, let's pressure wash the kids' swing set out back for them and do a soft wash on the thing or whatever. And just as an added bonus, or let's clean the gutters while we're up there and come down and go, hey, we saved you a couple $100. We cleaned your gutters for you. Great experience. You can't do that when you're cheap.
No. Well, and here's a good example too. So we've got a digging machine, a mini excavator that we use, and it went down. It just wouldn't start. So what did we have to do? We went and had to go rent one. But guess what? Well, we've got plenty of those too.
Yeah, I bet.
But I wasn't panicking trying to figure out how to come up with the money to pay for this thing because we had it priced correctly. Now, did we make 50% gross on that project? Nope. But there was room so that we didn't just completely go upside down either.
Exactly. Listen, there was a guy I talked to, did a $300,000 addition, took him 6 months, 5-6 months, and he didn't charge enough. It should have been 800, a lot more. He ended up losing 40 grand on it.
Yeah.
Spent 5 months of his life, all the stress, all this. And listen, man, I not that much, but my first big job to me when I was a brand new painting contractor, I sold it for 28 grand. I thought I was going to be rich. And I'm like, man, this is amazing. I just brought in $28,000. It was a nightmare client. He was an attorney. He nitpicked everything.
Oh,
he was GC in his own job. So it took a year to get done. And the job, when all was said and done, the job cost me $45,000 to do it, which means I should have charged 90 to 100 for the project to begin with.
Right.
So I was new in business, and that was the biggest education of my life, which kind of fuels everything we have today. So, you got to charge enough, man.
The going rate can absolutely burn you. Just because that number works for somebody doesn't mean it works for you. And it does not mean that somebody has their numbers figured out. That could just be a number they came up with, So, well, guys, let's get back to the questions. So we're going to bring this back. We're going to do some technology stuff. Again, keep in mind, I'm a fence guy. I'm not a tech guy. So here we go. This is working though. All right.
You're doing great, man. You never know that you weren't not a tech guy, man.
I don't know. All right, so let's catch back up here. All right, so this was right after we had explained the 2,800 and the 5,600 for active dads.
Yep.
Active dads, you're very welcome. I appreciate you tuning in. So active dads in says that's what he's been doing. So doubling his numbers, perfect. Giving. Oh wait, whoa. So no, actually, this is when we were talking about selling stuff too cheaply. Giving bargains and references keep coming in. I haven't been charging enough. There you go.
Listen, if you discount, you're going to attract discounters. People that want discounts. It's that simple. We hang out, Joe. We hang out with people that are like us.
Right.
I'll tell you what, you want me as a customer because I have friends who have money.
Sure.
And my friends don't expect deals. They don't expect discounts. They expect shit to get done. They're fine stroking a check because they don't want to be bothered with it. They don't want to babysit it. So every time you build your business on discounts and deals and offers, now there are some that have figured it out and they do it well because, like, Absolutely. If a guy's going 15% up, but he's doing like a 90% gross profit is what he's bidding his job at, and he could do 15 off, he's making money. So I'm not saying that there aren't, but a lot of guys think I'm going to discount myself into filling the calendar and making profit. Right. That's never the case because you just keep feeding the wrong machine here with people that expect a discount. The worst thing you could say, Joe, imagine this. You come do a fence for me, and I tell my friend who needs a fence, my neighbor's like, yeah, man, it looks like they did a really good job. Oh, yeah, and I tell you what, they were so cheap.
Yeah.
Their prices were amazing. Like everyone else was 10 grand. This guy was only $6,000 for all this. Can you believe that?
Uh-huh.
That's the worst thing you want somebody to ever tell. What we had all the time was, man, they weren't cheap, but they were worth it.
Bingo.
They were more than everybody else, but I've hired painters in the past. I've hired fence guys in the past, whatever it is. So
two points on that. One, and I don't know what the reason is, but we figured out early on that the projects we were doing at 30% gross profit had more callbacks and just more general discontent than the projects that we were selling at 50% or 50% target, right? And same projects, same type of fence, same crews going out to do the work, same follow-up, everything. For whatever reason, and I don't have an explanation for it, but for whatever reason, the lower margin jobs always ended up costing us more to produce.
Well, I'll tell you why. They're terrified to part with their money at that price. The lower price people that expect deals, they want things cheap, they're going to nitpick things more because this is like, man, this paint job is $2,300. Oh my God, I can't spend $2,300. I'm really scared to spend it. So I want to make sure I get every bit of everything out of this contractor. And I'm going to nitpick it. Same thing with us, man. We were doing 300 to 400 paint projects a year, long time ago, and I looked at my close rate on jobs that I had tried to discount to get the work, and my close rate was it was a little more than half of my normal closing rate. So just because I was discounting didn't necessarily mean I was going to sell more.
Sure.
Okay. And we spent a lot of energy on people that want discounts, revising our bids, trying to make the math work.
Yep.
Not worth it.
No. And here's another point to the discount and the bargains. When you see most guys give these discounts and bargains during their slow season, trying to stay busy, what time of year can contractors not afford to give discounts and bargains?
Yeah.
A slow time.
You have less volume. You have less volume, so you have less projects to make up your overhead.
That's right.
So when you lower your prices, you actually have to double your leads and sales close rate.
Yeah.
Lower prices to keep the same gross profit. So it makes sense.
Not only now is it your slow season, but also it's your poor season, right? It's a season where you're not making cash flow. So, maybe the credit card's getting a little closer to being maxed and this and that. So I had this conversation. There's a gentleman named Sean King, Mr. Fence, and he and I were talking about, he and I had a conversation a while ago, and it changed my perspective. Instead of giving discounts, you give upgrades.
Yeah.
Right. Or he says you give credit towards an upgrade. And so for us, what we did this past winter was we offered to upgrade any cedar product into a pre-stained cedar product.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't giving discounts, right? Because also with discounts comes perceived value.
Bingo.
Like that can become an issue. But also, we're still making the money we need to make on the fence. We're giving them an upgrade into a pre-stain, which for us works out. It works out financially for us.
Yep.
But that was it. Really switched my perspective to go from discounts to upgrades, because for us, our slow season's in the wintertime. Well, guess what else is in the wintertime? Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas costs money at our house, so it was slow, not as much cash flow coming in, and it's Christmas, and you have weather delays in the wintertime. It just wasn't a great scenario. So, but unfortunately, that's where you see a lot of guys offering discounts and bargains.
You know what else is happening right now? We're recording this on April 1st. A lot of guys are already starting to do this, especially if you're in a place that has severe climate changes, right?
Yep.
If I'll just speak from the painting industry where I come from.
Sure.
Springtime would hit, the phone would ring, people want their exteriors done, phone starts ringing off the hook. Every painter wanted to be the first guy in the neighborhood with the yard sign, right? We all want to be the first guy every year with the yard sign. So what do? We drop our shorts to get the job. And then you have a wet spring. This used to happen to me. I'm telling you, I'd be like, all right, we'll do this job. We'll be the first sign in the yard. And then it gets postponed doing the job. And then it gets bumped because of rain and all this other crap to us doing the job a month or two later than I wanted, when I'm actually in the peak of my season, money-making season of doing jobs that people are paying full price for.
Yep.
So I ended up front-loading. I've seen a lot of guys is front-loading your schedule out of the gate with shit work that you ain't going to make the money on just because you want to be first.
Yep.
Guys, please avoid that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can understand it. You're coming out of wintertime. You're ready to get back to work. All right, I'm going to grab as much as I can get.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, then there's guys like me that I hold back. Like, I'm going to wait for all that work to get grabbed up. And then I'm going to be the guy when someone calls and says, hey, I mean, listen, we've got Easter coming up, right? What comes with Easter? Pets. What keeps a fence company in business? Kids, pets, and bad neighbors. Top three things. So there's going to be some calls. There's going to be some frantic calls coming in here in a few weeks of, oh, by the way, we've got a puppy coming, but we don't have a fence. So as they call around, everyone else is booked up. They they were grabbing quick work. Mm-hmm. And to your point, now they're booked out past that. They're booked out into summertime, where we're going to be available to say, absolutely, we do have time on our schedule. Now, it won't be in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we're booked out 4 to 5 weeks right now. But if that's acceptable, we'd love to have this conversation at full price.
Yeah, this is about you taking control of your business, taking control of your money, not feeling like you're at the beck and call of everybody, that you got to jump through hoops, bend over backwards, sharpen your pencil, all that other garbage. Guys, charge what you need to charge. And it's most likely more than you think. And
absolutely.
In fact, I've worked with so many damn companies through the years. Like I said earlier, I might have met 5 companies that when I got into their numbers, they were actually charging enough.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And here's the thing, Tom, each one of them had a reason for that.
Exactly.
Right. Like everyone that's not charging enough has a reason. Like, I get it. I mean, I sat in that seat and I had the conversation with you of like, I don't think I can do it. I'm a fence guy. I'm in a small market. I've got a lot of guys in my market that are independent, and independent is a very nice term for someone that owns a truck and has a Lowe's card and now is a fencing contractor. Right. Yeah. And your point was, so what you think you're unique in that? You think your market's the only one that has those? No, absolutely not.
So consider this math. If you're $1 million business at a 30% gross profit, that means you have $1 million come in. It costs you $700,000 to produce the work, to have $300,000 left spread out over the year to pay salaries and profit and overhead and this and that. $300,000. Think of the number of projects you got to do. If it's $10,000 average job, right? Just what's $1 million divided by $10,000? 100 projects? Is that what that is?
Yep.
No.
Thousand.
I don't know, whatever it is. All right. Yeah, but both of us here were like, that's probably invented calculators.
That's
All
right.
So it's maybe somebody will type it in and we'll know what it is. So my point here is this. So I can do $1 million at a 30% to keep 300, or I could do 600 a year at a 50% to keep the same 300.
Yep.
So that means I need less equipment, less employees. I'm going to do less jobs, be able to offer a better experience. I need less leads. I don't need to sell. I don't have to feel like I got to sell every job. And the chaos and being the frantic company is eliminated right by raising those to 50%.
Absolutely. And I would argue that your team members, and your clients would be happier if you did less jobs and got the same money.
100%.
I mean, that makes sense to me, that it gives you more time on site, which that's a big thing for us. Is once we're done here, I meant to bring this up earlier. Here's the big thing with the frantic finisher is it's not a good experience for the client. The team members don't like being rushed. I don't like being rushed.
Yeah.
That's not a great feeling. And here's the thing. So when you're a frantic finisher and you can't slam your doors fast enough and peel down the street, you don't get to ask the question, well, one, did you love the work? It was it 5-star quality work. That's our level of service. That's our standard of service is 5 stars. And is there anything else around here that would make sense for us to talk about doing?
Yep.
We do a significant amount of business by asking our team members ask that question. Is there anything else around here that you could use a hand with? Absolutely. You know what?
So how many contractors go, I don't like you and I talk a lot about marketing, right? We talk about creating content, blogs, videos, social media, stuff like that. What's everyone say? I don't have time for that. The reason you don't have time is because you're chasing $1 million worth of low profit work instead of $600,000 of high profit work that frees your time up. So now you don't have to be in the rat race all the time. You can actually breathe, create some content, write a blog, go to a networking event, do some prospecting, call past customers, whatever those things are, that train your people. Think about that. I don't have time to train my people, whatever. Guys, all that can be solved when you charge enough and you have enough money left over. It's
absolutely
simple.
Hey, Tom, I've got some good news for the guys that don't have time to produce content. So do you know John Bowdy, Stony Creek Fence, out of Indianapolis, Indiana?
Rowdy Bowdy.
Yeah, Rowdy Bowdy. That's right. You're the one I got that name from. That's right. Oh, that's exactly. So John Bowdy, I talk about him every talk. So he was at one of the talk at the Sand Steel Experts events where I gave this talk, and I told him, I was like, hey, listen, I hope you don't get embarrassed easy because you're coming up in this talk. He said, John Bowdy does it exactly correct in that, because he goes to every project and does a walkthrough when they're done. He wants to make sure everything's done right. He wants to talk to the client. He wants to pick up the check while he's there. He's always doing walkthroughs. Guess what else he's doing? He's going on Facebook Live while he does the walkthroughs. Hey guys, it's John Bowdy with Stony Creek Fence. I'm doing a walkthrough. Here's the things I'm looking for. Here's what I'm interested in. Here's what I'm checking, right?
That's awesome.
While he's checking it, he's operating the gates. He's doing all this. One, he's producing content. Two, he's showing his potential future clients that he cares enough to do a walkthrough on everyone, and he's teaching them what they need to expect, right? You should expect me to show up with my phone, and I'm going to walk this yard, and I'm going to work on the gate, and I'm going to look for dirt and rocks, and I'm going to everything he looks for. So now when he shows up and knocks on their door, they're going to know him, right? And they're going to know that he cares so much about their fence that he's probably going to do a Facebook Live from their place once it's done, walking around their fence.
So think about the transparency of this too. He's walking around inspecting a job.
Yep.
How much would the trust factor go up if I'm just going to use a stupid example here, but he gets to a place where a board isn't secured properly and it's a little loose, right? Yeah. Or the gate has a little dip in it or whatever it is. And he just goes, I'm going to have my guys come back and address this. It's good enough, but it ain't going to last. We're going to have a problem with this later on, blah, blah, blah. You're just going, shit happens, right? but
Yeah.
at least I'm putting eyeballs on it and I give a crap. And
I caught it.
That's adding value. That's the perceived value of hiring you. This is why I pay more money for John, right? Because he's going to pay attention to these little experience type things that are best for me in the long run.
Right. And they know that he's not going to be a door slammer peeling out down the street when it's done. And now they don't know anything about fence. Now they have to go inspect the work. And guess what? When clients that don't know anything about fence start inspecting work, they start finding stuff.
Yes,
Whether or not it's there, they will find something. So
that's like in the painting industry. I worked for a builder, and after this happened, he never did this again. But he, this gorgeous 6,000 square foot home, a couple $1 million, paint job was a lot of money. For the walkthrough, he handed the homeowner a roll of blue tape and said, just put a piece of tape on anything that you're not happy with. And this was all trades, not just the painting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We walked in there the next day, and I swear to God, you thought the whole interior of the house was blue. Right? Like you thought we would have painted the walls blue.
Yeah.
And so he did a terrible job of setting expectations. He was a new builder and stuff, and we laughed about it and all that other stuff. But guys, you have to take control of how we set up a job, how we do a job, how we walk a job, how we close a job out. Create content around, define what a good fence installation. Like Joe, how do I know my fence has been properly installed? Right?
Yep.
It's a video, it's content.
Absolutely.
Walk around and go, hey, here's some industry standard things.
Yep.
Here's some Ozark standard things that we added on top of that. And this is how we define a good job. So
Tom, you guys have an event coming up at the end of the month, and one of the gentlemen that is going to be there is Marcus Sheridan.
Mm-hmm.
I was introduced to Marcus through his book, They Ask You Answer.
Yep.
And that book has been so impactful to me. So I usually bring a stack of those books to each one of my talks and tell folks, this is your foundational knowledge for content
100%,
creation.
100%, man.
But to your point, that's where you get to those videos ideas is someone's going to ask, I don't know, how do I know when you've done the job correctly? Great question. I'm going to answer it for you. And John does it every time he does a walkthrough, right? Is he's teaching his clients what they should look for in a fence. But it's also, how long should it take to build a fence? What should I expect before you show up? What should I expect during and after? The whole thing is, and it's such a simple concept.
Yeah.
But there's so much content that revolves around that subject, right?
Yeah. Well, we get in our way. We get in our way and we second guess ourselves. I'm not good on camera. I don't know how to write. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Guys, if you've been in business more than a day, you've had questions that people ask you. So how much does it cost to paint kitchen cabinets? Do I have to move furniture out of the house to refinish hardwood floors? How long, do I need to stay out of the house if you're going to refinish my floors? Are the gases harmful to my baby and my pets? Like every question anyone's ever asked you is content.
Yes.
And dude, listen, I have built the contractor fight, and I did it with my painting company before I sold my half of it. And I've helped hundreds of other people do this successfully. But I'm here with you. I have a pretty decent sized coaching business. I have an HGTV show. I have all these things because I committed to creating content and answering questions that keep contractors up at night. How am I going to pay my guy? What do I need to charge for the job? How do I increase my sales rate? What do I do to market my business? Right? Anything under the sun. And I haven't even scratched the surface, which is funny.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway,
each one of those questions is a silo, right? You could create content that's 4 or 5 levels deep on each one of those questions.
Yep.
And everyone can, right? So the question, how long does it take to build my fence? Well, the answer is it depends. But what does it depend on?
Yeah.
It depends on this, and this. And these are the 5 videos where I'm going to talk about each one of these things specifically.
Yeah, if
right?
people want a really good, you brought up Marcus Sheridan. He's been a friend of ours for a long time here in the fight. And we have him average once a year, sometimes twice a year. We have him do something with us.
Yeah.
Buy his book, They Ask You Answer, but then go to his website because he also owns a swimming pool company called
Yeah.
River Pool and Spas. If you go to, I think it's riverpools.com or riverpoolsandspas.com. If you just Google Marcus Sheridan Pool Company, it'll take you there. Or if you want to get crazy, go to a search engine right now and type in any question about an in-ground swimming pool.
Yep.
Okay. How much does a fiberglass pool cost?
Uh-huh.
How much does an in-ground pool cost? Fiberglass pools versus concrete pools, which is better? Type any of that in, and you will see what he calls his learning center on his website, his blog. It will come up, and it's the #1 traffic swimming pool company in the world. And I say, go to Marcus's site. I always send people there. And then look at the topics he does and just rip off the concept and make it your own for your industry, and you're good.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Absolutely agreed.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because so that book came out, They Ask You Answer came out 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe longer, but regardless. So, and you need to read the book. So I'm not going to talk about the book, but this life event happened to him in 07, 08.
Yeah. The Great Recession, where he lost everything because people were pulling deposits back. They wanted the deposits back from pools, and it almost bankrupted him. And he sat at his kitchen table for from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. pretty much every night, 7 days a week for years, banging out content. So don't tell me you don't have time to create content, guys.
Well, and part of my point here is, so he started doing this in 08 or 09. Not he, but the company is still producing content today.
Yep.
How many years? You know what I mean?
Yep.
This isn't, well, I shot my 5 videos, so what do I shoot next? It's not 5 videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And here's another thing. Yeah. You will never run out of stuff to create content about if you're really the champion of this in your business.
Yeah.
The last event we did with him, he shared a study, I think he shares it in the book, is he's creating all these blogs, these articles, and in his CRM, it tells him how many pages they were on and all this other stuff. And what he found was like 85, 90, 95% of the time that somebody had visited at least 30 pages on his website, over 85% of the time they bought a pool.
Wow.
Okay. So people will spend time on your site. People will research things. You just got to really take control of that whole thing. And so people have questions. They don't live in your world, Joe. They don't know fences like you do. I don't know fences like you do.
And the thing is too, they want to make informed decisions. They don't want to be taken advantage of. So they want to do all the research and they want to learn all the things it is about what this decision is to them. Right. So if you're the guy or gal that has all the content in your learning center on your website or on your YouTube page, then you get to be the one that they learn from. Yeah. Right. And at the very least, you are 2 or 3 steps ahead of all your competition that isn't producing content.
Think of the #1 question that gets asked about any product or service online. It's price.
Yep. How much does it cost
to put a fence in? And most of us, if you're doing this on your website, if somebody types into Google, what's it cost to paint a house or do a fence, and you have a blog on it, and in the blog you say, please contact our office and one of our salespeople will get back to you, you should be taken out back and slapped around. Okay. Because this is 2021.
Sure.
Answer the questions, and the book teaches you how to do that. So you can go read the book. But here's the thing. Who would you rather educate the general public? Guys like you and me, Joe, and the people watching this that actually know what it costs to do a project, or Home Advisor?
And I knew that's where this was going.
You knew where this was going, because what does Home Advisor do? They hire some kid out of college to be a marketer and write content and blogs on what does it cost to install a fence? What's it cost to do an addition? What's it blah, blah, blah. And they have no idea.
No.
Okay? But the consumers, it's not their fault, the customer's fault. They just pop it online and whatever pops up. So in your area, and I just with my painting company, how much does paint job cost, interior paint, extra? I flooded my website with content around pricing. And what was cool is people would type it in at the time locally, and my site, organic search, I had 4, 5, 6 of the organic spots on pricing around paint jobs. Then they'd click it, they'd go to my website. We actually had a thing at the time, dude, that was so cool, where I actually taught them how our estimating software worked and how it priced things. And then a funny thing happened.
Okay.
I knocked on a door one day, and this happened many times. The first time it happened, I about crap myself. And I walk in, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Tom," and they're like, "Cool, husband, wife." And I said, "What are we looking at?" And I did my thing with my iPad, my estimating thing, and I walked around the house, and I go, "Yeah, you're looking at $5,600 or whatever it was to paint a few things." She's standing at her kitchen island, and she turns to her husband. She goes, "Ha, suck it. I win. Ha, ha, ha." And I'm like, "What's going on?"
What happened? Yeah.
To her husband, right? And I go, I'm laughing. We're having a good time. I'm like, "All right, what am I missing here?" She goes, "We had a bet on how much it was going to be, and my number was within $100 a year number." And I said, "Man, that's funny. How did you get that price?" And she goes, "Well, it's that article on your website. You teach how you come up with a price." So, dude, she took a pen and a paper and a calculator and a tape measure. She walked around her house for a day and came up with like $5,700 or whatever it was. And I was actually like $100 cheaper than what she had figured out on her own. So she already was planning on hiring us.
Yep.
As long as we were in that ballpark, they were cool with the money. And that's what guys don't understand is that, we just did a fight night last week with Logan from Contractor Growth Network, talk about the importance of having a website that sells for you.
Yep.
Okay, guys, so many of you guys are overwhelmed right now because the phone's ringing. You got all these proposals and estimates to go do and site visits for people that are never going to be your customer. But if your content, your website, things like that are set up properly, it's going to weed half of them out and they're not going to bother you. And that's what you want.
Yep. So what I heard in your story, Tom, was that you gave this lady the opportunity to pre-sell herself on your services.
Mm-hmm.
So that's similar to my story that I usually tell is that, so for quite a long time, I was the face of Ozark Fence. I was doing all the videos. Here's who I am. Here's who our company is. Here's what the services we offer. Here's this one product that I love to use, and you should love to, you should ask for it to be used on your project. It was steel post. So I go and knock on this lady's door, and she opens the door, and I say, "Hi, I'm Joe with Ozark Fence." She goes, "You're the guy on Facebook." I said, well, yeah. I said, "Here's the thing. I'm too cheap to hire somebody to do that. And if I did, they wouldn't look like me." And we had a chuckle about it. And we go around the backyard and we're measuring things. And I say, "Ma'am, we do things a little bit differently. We use steel post rather than wood post. And here's why I think that's important." And she goes, "Wait, that's the video you did, right? Where they're not going to rot, they're not going to rust, and they have a warranty for wind damage."
Yep.
Yes, that's exactly what I was getting ready to talk about for the next 10 minutes.
Yep.
Well, so then that was my aha moment. She knew, like, and trusted me and my company because we had introduced ourselves to her. But also, my only job, she knew who she wanted to do the work. She knew what she wanted to have done with what products. My job was simply to show up and see if my number matched up with her budget.
Yep.
That was my only job.
Yeah.
That was my aha moment on
by the
we
time
need to be doing
somebody calls you and sets an appointment with you, they're about 85% sure that they want to hire you.
Yeah.
They're just in my case, it's always, "I just want to confirm you're not a moron." Right?
Sure.
If your website's doing the job of selling for you and giving them an opportunity to opt in or opt out of working with you based on that, then it's just a formality. Like, is he weird? Is he creepy? Is he going to do some bait and switch pricing game with me? Whatever it is.
Is it actually him?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to the chat real quick because I know Tom's got a heart out here in about 10 minutes. So I want to get to you guys. If you do have a question or comment for Tom, be sure to leave it in the comments below so we can get to these. Like I said, we've got about 10 minutes left here. Let's see. So So Paul Peck said a while ago, Paul, I'm sorry, we got on a roll though, and we were into some good stuff. So Paul says, I'm still the only drywall painting contractor in my county that charges for estimates. Got rid of 95% of the tire kickers.
Yep.
And here's why Paul can do this. Because people that pay Paul know that he's bringing the value. Right? Paul puts out an insane amount of content. So if anyone has even Googled painter near me, they pull up his content. So when he says, hey, I have this fee that I charge to come out because it's actually quite a lot of work to put together one of these proposals. Here's this fee. The ones that are serious, the ones that know him and know the value he's going to bring, say, yeah, no problem. You bet.
Yep.
Paul's a great example on creating content and having that content, reach your customers.
Well, the amount of content that he puts out in his industry there, I mean, right there, it's solidifying the fact that he's the pro, he knows what he's doing and all this other stuff. And it's positioning him as the expert to where all other drywall painter guys are going to be compared to.
Yep.
If they've seen him, so it's
absolutely.
Yep.
Fishing and Picking, welcome back. Says my first year in business was a shocker. Gross income was a little over $300,000, but net income was $8,000 for the year. That was a lot of work for a little profit.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. There's a reason why new fence company and probably new contracting businesses in general. I'm just more familiar with fencing contractors. Last 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It takes that long to deplete any savings they might have had, to completely almost wreck their relationship if it doesn't wreck their relationship.
Yeah.
And finally, they realize they're broke and they're tired and they're just tired of getting yelled at, but at home and at work, and they are just done.
Yep.
And guys, here's the thing. Here's the reason I do this is when we talk about business and we try to help other fence companies is because I see there's a very real problem with a lack of skilled labor in trades in general. I'm passionate about fencing because that's the industry I'm in. But what I see happen is craftsmen, guys and gals that are pros at what they do, and they're so great at it, they go out on their own. But they don't have the proper tools in their tool belt to run a business. They know exactly how to build a fence, and they do it really well, but they don't know how to run a business really well. And 3 to 5 years, they're broke, they're tired, they're disenfranchised with fencing in general, and they are done, and they leave the industry.
Yeah.
They go somewhere else. And we as an industry lose a craftsman. It's a lose-lose. Our clients are upset because yet another craftsman is flamed out. Usually this flame out usually ends with this person taking deposits and then vanishing.
Yeah.
It leaves the rest of us in the market going, well, I'm not that guy, I promise. Right. But we lose a craftsman and our industry is worse off for it. So, Fishing and Picking, your story isn't, unfortunately, your story isn't unique,
No.
and your story is unique in that you're still here. Right.
Joe, we do a survey of people that join our 100K program and, revenue and debt and all this we ask. And it is extremely common for somebody to join that program. And when they give us that first financial snapshot to see, I do 250, 400, 500 grand worth of business, 300 grand worth of business. I currently pay myself $800 a week. Okay. Which we all know isn't shit. And for debt, I will often see $60, $80, $200,000 in debt because for the first 3 to 4 or 5 years, they try to get a line of credit. I had one guy who, amazing guy. He's totally turned it around now. Who had $450,000, $500,000 worth of debt. And the majority of it was in, actually, I know a couple guys like this, but one I'm thinking of is out on the West Coast. It was through those quick payday loan type places and stuff like that. Guys run up their credit cards because they're not charging enough, right, guys? We're not charging enough money. You have too much chaos in the business. You think that you're going to you're going to scale yourself into profitability, and don't scale what's not already profitable.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Small and grow profitably, have money, have good cash flow, get paid. You're not as frantic.
Yep.
I promise you, it's a much better life.
I agree. Absolutely. So House Right Fence has a question that I don't know has an answer. So what is an average sales close rate at a 47% GP? That's going to depend on the market, on so many different things,
Your
right?
ability as a salesperson, it's,
That's right.
I mean,
I'll tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just tell you, for me in our business now, this means about as much as nothing, but between 25 and 30% is kind of where we sit now. And we end up around that 40, 46, 47 there, that range. Right.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say that, because the close rate is almost as meaningless as what I charge to build fence.
Right.
Because it's one of my indicators. It's one of my performance indicators, but it could be different than yours, House Right. And obviously I know your name's not House Right, but it could be different than your business, right? Ozark Fence is a different company than House Right Fence.
Well, one of the other metrics, Joe, that that we track in the Contractor Sales Academy is what percentage of your on-site in-person visits are you turning into a job, right? And so we have several people in there that are 50, 60% gross profit on all their jobs that have 100% close rate when they go to the house, because they pre-qualified it properly. So you might have 100 leads come in, you pre-qualify them, determine that only 25 of those people, 15, 20, 25, 30 of those people deserve a site visit after proper pre-qualification. You're going to sell a much higher, it might be an overall close rate of the 100 leads of 20 or 30%, but the in-person close rate is going to be 80, 90 or greater percent. So it just depends. But, yeah, it's a tough question because there's so many variables.
It's going to vary by business. It really is. All right. Fence Armor's here. So Fence Armor says, nice show, Joe and Tom. Interesting topic.
Thank you.
So Fence Armor is actually going to be a guest next. So guys, I think we should talk about this real quick. So this is the last Thursday live we're going to do. And I've talked about it a lot. It's been in the YouTube community chat a lot, but this is the last Thursday we're going to do. We're moving to Saturday. A week from this Saturday, we're moving to Saturdays from 10 to 12:30 Central, because you guys have asked for a more convenient time that more of you can show up for, and we're providing that. So Fence Armor will actually be our first Saturday interview on the 10th. I think that math is right.
Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Bo Butler, welcome back. So Bo's out of Castle Rock, Colorado with Front Range Fence Company. Great to see Tom on here with you.
Bo, that's cool. I'm actually in about 2 to 3 minutes. I got to hop off, like Joe said, because I'm hopping in the truck with my queen, and we are driving up to Sedalia, which is right next to you, because that's where her horse barn is, and she's a hunter jumper trainer, and so I'm going with to help. It's kind of a little weasel date time for us because it's about a 45-minute drive there and back, and I help her set jumps and all that stuff. So I'll be passing right through there in a few minutes here.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good. I don't know how to say this name, so I'm going to call you Vox. Vox says good stuff. Vox, I appreciate you showing up.
Vox Telesis.
Well, I think it's Vox Telesis. Telesystems, SMS.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Vox Telesis. All right, cool.
Appreciate you guys showing up.
Thanks,
really do. Question for the painter, Tom, real quick. I know you've got an out here in a minute. Question for the painter, yay or nay for painting vinyl siding?
Sure. Listen, it's been a decade since I owned a painting company, really, and so and really even thought about that. But I know back in the early 2000s, there were a lot of projects that were coming out. Sherwin-Williams had something that was like vinyl safe and all this other stuff. And listen, I think you talk to your manufacturers, but listen, if somebody has a vinyl house they want it painted, and you warranty it the way you need to, and you follow the steps that you need to do it, I'd paint it all day. I painted plenty of vinyl houses. So, yep.
House Right has a follow-up question. Should we list price ranges on our website? Absolutely.
Yep.
I think so. So House Right Fence, there's actually a tool that we use in our business. It's called My Salesman. It's an online quote tool. And so for us in my business, it's a mandatory first step that you use the online quote tool.
Yep.
What it is they enter their address. It pulls up a satellite image of the home. They draw the fence around the property. They choose what type of fence they want, and it gives them a budgetary figure on what that fence is going to cost them.
There you go.
So not just a generic price range, it's specific to their project.
Another resource, go look at Sherwood Paint, SHERWOOD, SherwoodPaint.com. Dan Sherwood, he's actually one of our coaches in the fight here too. Got a kick-ass painting company up in Marblehead, Massachusetts, but he's got price ranges and things like that. So absolutely it should be on there. Don't be afraid. A lot of guys are afraid of locking themselves into something. If you do it right, you could say starting at 10 grand. You can say a project like the one shown. Guys, we see this with cars all the time, right? A car commercial, in the fine print, right? It says the car shows the blah, blah, blah model. And these start at 30 grand, but the one shown is 75 grand, right? So it's, there's so many different ways you can do it.
Yeah, the key term starting at.
Yep.
Look, see, Tom, I told you. We got guys to watch out for us. Now, he said this 10 minutes ago. So, Roger, thank you. I was like, I know it. I know my crowd. If I tell them I've got a hard out, they watch out for me.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Really quick. So, Mark says it's great content on content. Thanks for putting this out there. Mark from Tangent Materials, Structural Plastics Lumbers. Interested in how often a contractor upsells material versus spec. So, Mark, I'll say this for my business. So, we don't deal with spec projects very often. We're just not a good fit for those type of projects. That being said, we always offer the upsell.
Yep.
Right. So we always offer the good, better, best. But I probably wouldn't be the best guy to ask for if we're looking at percentages on upsells versus specs. So House Right said for me. So talking about close rate for us, 25, 30% is just about right. And then Finstorm says they're looking forward to it. Cool. Tom, I know you've got a hard out. I'm trying to get you out of here as quickly as possible. But I want to say this, Tom. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, guys. If you know Tom, if you follow Tom at all, you know how special this last couple hours has been. Tom typically charges for his fight nights, where it's typically him on similar tangents, right? Mm-hmm. And so Tom agreed to come on and chat with you guys about gross profit, net profit, and all that. Tom, thank you. I really do appreciate your time.
Joe, I appreciate you having me, and it's been a joy to watch you, dude, take where you were. You were already successful, man, and you've taken things to a different level, and I can't wait to see where you're at in another year, man.
It's been a crazy ride. It really has.
Everybody hit the comment right now and give Joe some love.
I appreciate that.
Right now. Give Joe some love because, dude, you're doing so much, not only in your own business to make the lives of your employees and your customers and vendors better, but like you're giving so much of yourself to help your industry. And so hats off to you, buddy.
I appreciate that, Tom. It means a lot coming from a guy like you. If you're follow me, but you don't follow Tom, please follow him. I know I follow him already, but even if I didn't, I would start following him, if only to figure out when this HGTV series is going to start this fall. I can't wait for it.
Sounds good, buddy. Well, I super appreciate it. And all of you that are here or catching the replay, we appreciate your time. And you guys keep kicking butt, man.
Tom, thanks. Have a great evening.
Sounds good, bud.
Guys, thank you again. I'll see you guys next week.